Gentlemen.
With RTS games, you'll hear a lot of terms being thrown around, and it can be quite confusing from an outside perspective. As a result, I'll be dedicating this episode of what makes RTS games fun to explaining the definitions and RTS game terminology. Probably won't be the most exciting video in the world, but quite important nonetheless to avoid future confusion and misunderstandings. Some of these terms can have subjective definitions within the context of RTS, but these are at least how I use these terms, and I think you'll find most people use them the same way. First off, I'll be starting with micromanagement, or micro for short. Micro refers to the delicate and finesse use of units and abilities. This essentially just means maximizing their efficiency, whether it's to increase their damage or their survivability. This results in a lot of different techniques for a variety of different games. Basically, the term micro means to actively control and direct units, so not microing would be to issue an attack move command and leaving it up to the game's AI. A game that is regarded as micro-intensive means that the focus is on unit control and interaction, such as Command & Conquer and Company of Heroes. Games that are not micro-intensive would be Supreme Commander and StarCraft 2, where instead of unit interaction, the focus is on production, economy, and strategy. It's very important to understand the difference between micro and actions per minute. APM is the speed of which a player is able to perform mouse clicks and keystrokes, so essentially how fast someone is. APM is a very integral part of StarCraft 2, where the economy is so fast that the players must be very efficient in order to process their production. There's a big misconception that micro and APM are synonymous. This is far from the truth. For example, in StarCraft 2, most of your APM is exhausted maintaining your economy and production. Whilst a lot of the time micro is APM intensive, in most RTS games, micro has little to do with your APM in favor of utilizing certain techniques and intricacies. Another big term is macro, which refers to the combination of economy and production. Economy is the management of resources, which includes producing resource collecting units, prioritizing different types of resources, and the timing of expansions and other economic investments. Production, on the other hand, is the spending of these resources, so maintaining a constant flow of producing units and avoiding floating, which is an excess of unspent resources. This generally involves building more production structures as the game progresses and the pacing of the economy increases. Games with a pay-as-you-go economy system generally have an easy production to manage, whereas games with an upfront unit cost are a lot more demanding. We all know what strategy means in RTS, but I want to distinguish the difference between strategy and tactics. Strategy is much larger scale. It refers to the decision-making and opportunity cost. It's the composition of units, upgrade and tech, and how it all fits together with your economy. It's how you plan on defeating your enemies with what you have available to you, and how you react and adapt to other players in the game. A strategy typically refers to a rehearsed build order with timings of economy, attacks, and teching. Tactics, on the other hand, is more small scale. It's about where, when, and how you fight your battles. It does have a bit of overlap with micro, as it both involves unit control, but I think the main defining difference is that tactics is a premeditated idea or technique, whereas micro is a reactionary response in combat. Those are the more important concepts, but I'll also quickly define some other terms. Tech is short for technology, which refers to unlocking higher tier units or committing to a certain playstyle, such as air unit or laser weapon tech. Scouting refers to getting information on the enemy's actions. This is important for discovering investments of production, economy, and tech. It's also important for finding the movements and composition of the enemy's army. Scouting is very important for learning how best to counter your opponent. And lastly, logistics is about the maintenance and upkeep of your units, such as having to constantly supply ammunition, fuel, and food to your infantry and vehicles. Most RTS games don't bother focusing on logistics, but some, such as Wargame, feature logistics as quite an integral part of the series. And that's pretty much it, so hopefully that'll clear up some things moving on to the next video discussions.